sound like I'd like to thank all my chums back in Australia.
I don't think they say chums.
I'd like to thank all the kangaroos and the koalas in Australia for helping me discover country music.
How did he discover country music?
His dad
was
was
just like in the ether.
His dad was a big country music fan. I saw an interview once where he said, this blows my mind. Blows my mind that he said the first concert he ever went to was a Johnny Cash concert.
Wow.
Isn't that insane?
In Australia?
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay, hold on.
So he's realer than
real.
Some of the deals.
Let me try it. My Australian accent. I gotta like say some things to get into it. Shrimp on the barbie. Better. All right. Good. Okay.
Oh, you sound just like the Outback commercials.
Yeah,
You're good.
It's like Outback Australian. Keith is kind of lost his accent.
Foster's, American for beer.
Foster's. I went to Australia in high school, and we asked if they like Foster's, and they didn't know what we were talking about. And the one person who knew what we were talking about laughed in our faces.
Well, it would be like because they say Foster's, what do they say?
Foster's is Australian for beer.
Yeah, and then it's kind of like that La Quinta commercial that says Spanish for high-speed internet.
Oh, that's not a good slogan.
You're probably,
wasn't it something about like having a nice night's stay?
Well, yeah, but you're probably not gonna go to Mexico City and be like, oh, like even make that joke because you're not gonna get it.
It's so great.
But anyway, we're talking about Keith Urban.
Yes. Because
he is nominated for a couple of the big ones at the CMA Awards that are coming up in a couple days.
It's CMA's Christmas for country fans. It's all these big awards.
It is, and I'm not kidding. Like, I think I'm probably one of the only people who feels this way because there is so much work that goes into it. Like, beforehand, behind the scenes, during the show, before the show, a couple days after the show. There's so much stuff going on and there's so much work. But to me, I think it is so fun. You reflect, you celebrate. Sometimes weird, cool things happen. You know, like I got to be there. I mean, I was there the last 3 years and the last 2 years. So we had the JT, that's Justin Timberlake, for those of you, not Garth Brooks, because Garth Brooks fans might think I'm talking about James Taylor. But so that's Justin Timberlake and Chris Stapleton's performance. And then I was also there last year when Beyonce and the Dixie Chicks appeared together. And I was probably one of 150 people in the audience who was standing up and screaming my head off. Mainly because I was so excited that Dixie Chicks were there. And I mean, I love Beyonce, but...
A lot of people don't like the Dixie Chicks, though.
A lot of people apparently don't like Beyonce, but...
Oh, yeah, there was all that stuff. She's not country. Why is she there? Kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, technically she's not country.
Oh, no.
But to me, so that night, 2 of the 3 biggest superstars in music were inside of Bridgestone Arena. Taylor Swift and Beyonce, and the other one was playing a show in Dallas at American Airlines Center. Who was the third? That wasn't there. That was on tour last fall.
Wait, that's the biggest female musician in your mind?
I would say most people's minds, but sure, my mind.
Jennifer Lopez.
That's embarrassing. It was Adele.
Okay.
She's
big.
Not to shake a stick at Jennifer Lopez,
right.
But you think that she's comparable to J-Lo, or to Beyonce and T Swift right now? Jenny from the Block?
I think in the grand scheme of things, yeah.
No, okay. This is a different conversation.
Okay.
That we can have on a different day.
All right.
Let's just get down to it.
So here's what we're going to do. If you want to follow along, you can go to the CMA website. We're just going to go through each category. I'm going to throw out a category to you, Lauren, and I just want your gut reaction of who you think is going to win. Let's start with New Artist of the Year.
New Artist of the Year, gut reaction. So the way I do it is I usually have 2.
Okay.
Most of the time. Because there's always like a... Will they, won't they? Like, I don't know how people decide to vote. I know how I vote.
Yeah.
So this one, my 2 are Old Dominion, John Party. I think it's going to go to John Party.
Okay.
I think Old Dominion's had a huge couple of years, and I think that they're awesome, and I think people in Nashville really love them. I think that they've also, and this is not a knock on them at all, they've been around for a while as individual songwriters and kind of as like a songwriting unit. They've had a lot of success, wrote for the band Perry, a couple big Kenny Chesney tunes, and like Kenny's taking them out on tour even before they were signed to a label. I think that that was super helpful for them. I think overall, though, John Party is not that he's, I was going to say he's the real deal, but I don't want to knock Old Dominion in any way. But to me, it's John Party's just been phenomenal. He's got such a old school country music vibe, and he's a hat act. Hat act. Which we don't have very many of these days, especially new ones.
Oh, no.
There are very few new hat acts, but he had three number one singles off of this was his sophomore album, which was super critically acclaimed and well regarded. Okay. I think the other one that could like be thrown in there that like it wouldn't surprise me would be Lauren Elena, but I was wondering that. I think it's John Party or Old Dominion.
And you said before that you think this is one of the awards that can really change your career.
Yeah, I think if Lauren Elena, if someone other than John Party or Old Dominion wins it, this is going to do huge things for Luke Combs, Brett Young, or Lauren Elena. I think if John or Old Dominion win it, it's just going to continue them on the... I mean, not that the other three aren't on a very super mobile upward path, but I think it'll do more for those three than it would Old Dominion or John Party. I think they've kind of already reached another level in comparison to the other guys.
Okay. Music video of the year.
Oh, gosh. Okay, so I've studied this one this afternoon. So what's interesting is in the past, this category has usually featured, like, it's usually been a split down the middle of a couple of, like, really, like, well done, but, like, kind of funny videos, and then also some super artistic ones.
Yeah.
And this year, I think that all five are pretty high production, pretty artistic. So you've got the two that are Thomas Rhett and Maren Morris, Craving You was kind of like made like a little movie. And then that's the same thing for Brothers Osborne, It Ain't My Fault. It was kind of a little movie, fake news spoof. I don't think it's going to go to either of those two.
I actually know the director from Craving You.
Right, and he's
worked with him way back when at summer camp.
He's won a couple. He won most recently for Maddie and Tay's "Girl in a Country Song," which it was an example of one of the funny videos, kind of like Dierks Bentley's "Drunk on a Plane."
Yeah,
just kind of funny. But so, Better Man, Vice, and Blue Ain't Your Color are just super artistic. Blue Ain't Your Vice. I think it's gonna be Vice.
Okay. Here's one that I think people will think doesn't matter, but I think it is one of the bigger ones. Musician of the Year.
Yeah.
I feel like this is a huge validation for those guys who often get their names just in liner notes.
Yeah. So here's.
Does this one even make air?
No. Yeah. This one is never on the air. And what's funny is last year on the red carpet, a publicist came up to me and she sent, like, a lot of times when you're on the red carpet, they'll hand you like a little card that gives you a couple bullet points about an artist.
Things to ask.
Yeah, or whoever, like just so you have some talking points. And she came up to me and she was like, "Hey, can you do me a favor and will you interview like this guy I'm walking?" And this is a publicist for, I'm not gonna say who it is, but I was kind of like, what? Okay. And then it turns out he was one of the nominees. He's nominated again for Musician of the Year, and I like could recognize his name mainly from like Instagram and stuff, and like artists like talking about him. But he was so interesting because most of these guys play for lots of different people and produce a lot of albums, and so like they have some cool stories. But so anyway, this guy, because last year I mean, I guess I can say who it was. Derek Wells, and he's kind of younger. And I was asking everybody like what their favorite Dolly Parton song was because she was getting that big Lifetime Achievement Award, and he like named a couple of like super random ones, and like even for me, like a big time Dolly fan, I was like, that is so interesting. And he was like, oh well, my dad's been her band leader for 30 years.
What?
And I was like, oh. Buried the lead. I mean, I know you're nominated for a CMA award, but like you kind of buried the lead there, buddy.
Yeah.
But so like McEntire won it like tons of years in a row. People just love him. But then Dan Huff won last year for the first time, and he's a producer, plays the Thomas Rhett. He's real big with Thomas Rhett, a couple other guys, but so he's nominated again. All of these guys are pretty phenomenal and super well respected. If you remember, those of you who are listening, if you remember watching Chris Stapleton and Timberlake perform a couple years ago, and they did the audience shots, there's a couple shots of like Charles Kelly from Lady A just loving it.
Oh, into it.
And a couple other guys. And then they kind of showed this guy that was standing up kind of by himself, and he had this look on his face that like it was turning into a smile, but the camera cut away from him too soon. But it was a super intense look. And that was Jerry Douglas, the dobro player.
The dobro.
But like people he blew up Twitter that night because everyone who knew who he was, like, because everyone just watching at home was like, why does this guy hate Chris Stapleton?
Right.
Or whatever. But everyone who was watching was like, nobody loved this performance more than this guy.
Jerry.
Yeah. Which is super fun. But so I think it'll probably go to Dan Huff for McEntire.
I wish you could see the pictures that I'm looking at. It's everyone has these really professional, well done headshots, and then Dan Huff's looks like a cool dad on Facebook who took a picture of himself holding a guitar with his computer.
Definitely
like,
the cool dad.
Yeah, it's just like, anyway, it's a funny comparison. Okay, musical event of the year.
Ugh, this category kind of makes me mad. It's just such a weird category, and I think this is the least competitive category. I think Kill a Word is heads and tails above every other song on here. The only other one that I think's even in contention would be Funny How Time Slips Away, Glenn Campbell and Willie Nelson, because I think
that one almost has to win, right?
With Glenn passing away, that people might give it the nod, but
yeah.
Kill a Word is just easily one of the most timely, especially in country music that often doesn't address any issues head on. Kill a Word, I mean, it's been out for 2 solid years now and still resonates probably more than any. And I'm not saying this just because it's literally one of my probably 10 favorite country music songs that's ever been released. I also work for the internet, and so maybe it resonates a little more with me, but
it'd be great if it does. I feel like with Glenn Campbell, I feel like that one's going to get the nod, but you know more than I do.
But these, you never know, you know? Maybe people were like super into Faith saying, respect the hell out of her.
Is that all it takes to win musical event of the year?
No, I'm sad because that song kind of stinks. It's like there's so many great aspects of that song, and then there's so many things, like, for example, Faith, like Tim says, you better respect your mama, and then Faith says, respect the hell out of her, which totally negates saying respect your mama.
Yeah.
Because can you respect the hell out of someone?
Oh, yeah.
No, it's like when people
I really respect them.
It's like when somebody says, like, I love you to death. I'm like, that is the least personal thing anybody's ever said to me. I love you to death.
Well, so far, you've passed over Craving You twice. So far, you're saying that they're getting blanked right now. I thought that was going to be a big song when I was just looking at the list. But
nope.
Here we go. Vocal Duo of the Year.
Okay, so I want to look at my notes on this one because I had several thoughts on it. So Vocal duo. Last year, Brothers Osborne, it's funny, they were sitting behind Florida Georgia Line, and they beat out Florida Georgia Line for this award, which, Brothers had released an album, they had a Grammy nomination, they had a big year. So when I was thinking about this category earlier, I thought, I bet Florida Georgia Line takes it back because they released an album. They had this massive, massive tour. They were the headliners. Huge tour. Album, super successful. #1 singles out the gate. But then but this is where I stopped myself, was that if you look at the other categories, there were a few other places where I think Florida Georgia Line could have gotten thrown in. Honestly, I think they could have ended up with 2 nominations in the vocal event category. I think they definitely 100% totally got passed over in the vocal event category with their collab with Tim McGraw. I think May We All is probably one of the best singles they've ever released.
Wow.
Like I said, the best single that Florida Georgia Line's ever released.
Yeah.
Not the best single Tim McGraw's ever released, but it was a
Still,
great
though,
song, and it was awesome. Not to mention the music video for that, their music video for Smooth. There's just a few things that they got passed up in other categories where they were where I think that they maybe, and I don't love their music, but there's definitely things where I'm like, you know what, they might have kind of gotten, what do you call it? I don't want to say the shaft.
Snubbed.
The shaft seems weird.
It seems pretty intense too.
They got. I feel like they may have gotten a little bit snubbed, which I find the fact that I even thought that, I felt kind of weird about it. But so I thought that FGL would take it back. Looked at the other categories and was like, man, I don't know. Maybe Brothers is gonna eke it out again. But Brothers only got one other nomination in the video of the year. They did have a Grammy nomination. They toured around with Chris Stapleton, Miranda Lambert last summer. So I don't know. I could honestly see it going either way. My gut kind of says Brothers are going to take it again.
Yeah.
I don't think it's between anybody else, but I kind of think Brothers. I could see why people would vote for FGL, but they didn't put them up in a couple of these other categories they could have been in.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So I don't know.
Okay.
But I'm going to say Brothers.
Brothers Osborne.
Brothers.
Moving up to groups that have more than 2 people. Vocal Group of the Year.
Woo woo. Which is funny because none of these people. Oh, I guess Rascal Flatts has 3 people. Lady A has 3 people. I was like, no, they all have 17 people. That's just
Zach Brown Band.
Just Zach. Well, and Old Dominion's 5 guys.
Yeah, 5 guys.
Great burger. Well, so this is kind of the same situation I was thinking of about vocal group. Was I thought, I bet that this could be one of those super random years where Little Big Town doesn't get it. Typically voting for this category very much goes in blocks. It was Rascal Flatts for a number of years.
Yeah. It
was Lady A for a number of years, and now it's been Little Big Town for several years. So I thought, this will probably be, I think Old Dominion's going to squeak it out as kind of just let's shake things up a bit. Then you look at the other categories. They've got an album nom. They've got song, single, video. They held down that residency at the Ryman. I think they are the most beloved group of humans, I think, in Nashville. They show up at the Opry. They play people's funerals. They got their Walk of Star. Well, can't remember what it's called. Music City Walk of Stars.
Star Walk on the Music City walking where this.
There's stars and it's a sidewalk. So then I was like, oh, I don't know. So I think Old Dominion's album wasn't released in the time frame.
Yeah.
Little Big Town's was. I think that this category is going to be as close as it's ever been.
Okay.
At least in the last 4 or 5 years. I think it's going to go to Little Big Town. There were probably some random people out there that voted for Lady A after they made their comeback, which like they've had a great, super fun, successful year. But I think it's
Little Big Towns to lose.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, here we go. Male vocalist of the year. Can, in your mind, Thomas Rhett, who had a huge year, can he get an award at the CMAs?
Yeah, so he won. He beat Humble and Kind out last year for single of the year.
Yeah.
With Die Happy Man, which I was shocked. Like, I think I literally, like, dropped my phone because I was shocked. Not that I don't like him, but, you know, I was just like, wait, OMG.
But so, this year, it would be such an upset if he won this category.
So, I think it's between Keith Urban, Thomas Rhett, and Chris Stapleton. I think it's Keith Urban should win. Here's how it works. Thomas Rhett won the ACM Male Vocalist of the Year. They all had headlining tours within the dates. Only Stapleton released an album. Keith and TR had #1 hits.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. But I say, I think it's going to, I think Keith Urban should win. I hope he does win. I think it'll be Urban or Stapleton.
Okay.
I personally want Keith Urban to win.
I feel like this is going to be a big year for him. But we'll get to that in just a second. So Keith Urban, you're saying for male vocalist. What about female? This seems like a tight category.
You know, I was thinking over this one, and this is probably the strongest this category has been in a number of years. You know, in years past, it's always been a very clear cut between Miranda or Carrie, no matter, which is funny because to me, Carrie has so many more accolades at times than Miranda, but like Miranda still won 6 years in a row. So I think that you have to look at, when it comes to this, you have to look at like Kelsey Ballerini and Maren Morris are phenomenal, but they didn't have their own big tours.
No.
Neither one of them released a new album. And then
they were on tour, but they weren't in like stadium tours.
Right. Maren played with Keith Urban and then Sam Hunt, and then Kelsey was out with Thomas Rhett and Lady A opening for them. And then they both did their own like little club show tours, you know, like 15, dance halls 20 dates. Stuff. Yeah. Which like did super well.
Right.
Ballerini had a couple #1 hits within the voting frame, so which is awesome. Maren won a Grammy.
Yeah.
During this time, which is insane. And then, you know, I put this when I wrote my predictions that Ballerini, Morris, and McEntire all had great years, but they haven't quite reached that level of Miranda and Carrie of being able to sell out their own stadiums or arenas, which obviously Reba has been there, done that.
Sure.
This is kind of like her, not her comeback, just like her, I'm still here.
Right.
And I'm still awesome.
Yeah.
And so, but like, I don't think that she like did enough to win.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are looking at this and thinking to themselves, Miranda released an album, she toured, there's no way that this is going to go any other way, which I'm like, yeah, okay, but we have to remember, one, Carrie, for the voting period, was touring for half of the voting period, did have 2 #1 singles during the voting period, okay? So there's that. Carrie also switched record labels. So for the past 8 or 9 years, Carrie and Miranda have been on the same record label. When it comes to award season, record labels are not going to split their votes. They're going to make a decision and go and push one artist. In my personal opinion, it's why Cam didn't even get nominated for New Artist last year, and Maren did and ended up winning, because the record label had to say, we've got to go with one of these. Like, we can't push both, which is also why Maren Morris doesn't actually have a shot to win this award, because she's on the same record label as Miranda. With Carrie on a new record label, even though people think that she hasn't done much this year, it's going to make the game a little bit tighter.
Okay. It seems tough for Marin. Just going in like the label's going to push one person. But it makes sense if you're a record label and you want one of your artists to win, that you wouldn't split your vote.
I obviously have never had this conversation with Carrie. I think at some point you have to say, like, this starts to, like, sting a little bit. That, like, I mean, because, again, I don't want to knock Miranda, and I'm clearly not speaking for Carrie Underwood. Like, but, like, she's had 25 number one singles, and she's also sold out tours. Miranda's had, like, 4 number one singles. But she's had, you know, like...
Right.
And Carrie's this phenomenal vocalist. She has 7 Grammys. Like, I think the thing is like, to me, they're such different performers. But for some reason, Miranda gets so much more respect, like so much more critical acclaim. And I can't figure out why.
That is strange.
And so in my heart, I think that, like, I mean, I know, like, Carrie has her, like, professional reasons why she switched labels, but I think there had to be a little bit of, like, I mean, they're friends.
Yeah.
But also, every time Miranda wins, especially the last, like, 3 years, she always talks about Carrie.
Just like, oh, you should have won this kind
yeah,
of thing?
And it's like, at some point, it's like, remember on Mean Girls when Katie Heron, like, breaks the crown? Share it. If you really mean that, if you really think Carrie deserves it, like, figure it out.
Do you think, like... Do you think somebody would take their award and cut it in half and give it to someone if they really meant that?
Adele tried at the Grammys.
She did?
Adele was, when she won, the Grammys are different. So they've got song, like, record of the year at the Grammys is, like, album. And so she won record of the year over Beyonce's Lemonade. And, like, the fake Grammy that they gave her, she tore the, like, little gramophone off the little wood stand and said she wanted to give it to Beyonce.
Yeah. Well, don't the Grammys have record and album? That the difference is kind of strange?
And, you know, it's song of the year and then record. And record is album.
Okay. Because there's one of those sort of confusing things here where there's a single of the year and there's a song of the year.
Right. So, I mean, the way that I've always described the difference between single and song of the year is the single is, it's like the more commercial, maybe. The, like, it was on,
It's on the radio.
Had more weeks at radio, sold more. It takes into account a lot more things. And then the song is just, like, what people think was just the absolute best song of the year. You know, this year is weird because the 5 same songs are nominated, which I think is weird. I think some of them shouldn't be that way. But
okay.
So, single of the year. If we look at history, especially the last few years, it's definitely going to go to Body Like a Back Road. I mean, 34 weeks at number 1 on the Hot Country Songs chart. That's over half of a year, which is insane. Reached number 6 on Billboard's Hot 100, which for a country artist, also insane. So I don't think people care who sang it. I mean, because in 2013 they did give Cruise Single of the Year. Last year they did give Die Happy Man Single of the Year over Humble and Kind. So I think it will be Body Like a Back Road.
Okay.
Which goes to the artist. But
yep.
he did write it.
He did. He's one of the writers.
Sam Hunt.
If you didn't know who wrote or performed Body Like a Back Road.
Yeah. If you've literally been on a back road
under a rock on a back road.
Because it just within the last, I think 2 weeks ago, Kane Brown and Lauren Elena's What If took its spot. But it's still number 3. It was maybe it was 3 weeks ago. So it was number 2 for 2 weeks. And then this week, it just moved in to the number 3 spot on Hot Country Songs. So it was number 1 for 34 weeks. And now it's been sitting at 2 and 3 for the last 3 weeks.
Kane Brown's song, I like making up lyrics to that. What if a sailboat came round you and me
What if
right on a sidewalk?
So after that song went to number one, so he and Lauren Elena apparently went to the same middle school. And then I guess they went to different high schools, and she did American Idol, and he tried out for, I think, maybe like X Factor and whatever. And she got a record deal pretty quick, and I don't know what he was doing. But anyway, so he had tweeted or something about, I bet this has never happened before. And because I'm so cynical, I was like, well, not true. Because Charles Kelly and Dave Haywood grew up together, went to middle school together, and they have lots of number one hits and Grammy Awards and CMA Awards. Brothers Osborne clearly went to the same middle school.
Yeah.
So they have number one songs. And then like I spent like a day and a half like racking my brain for who, just because I wanted to prove
to show Kane Brown.
And then I was like, I'm not gonna fire back.
He probably didn't care that much.
I mean,
this is interesting.
Because I did take a step back, and I thought that is super cool that they actually like knew each other.
Yeah.
Because Lauren Elena said it in a much different, cooler, sweeter way, and once I read what she said about it, I was like, okay. Because she took the lyrics and was like, "What if I told you that as middle schoolers we would get record deals? What if I told you, like, I would do this? You know, just like it was just like." It was a much more like nostalgic, like it's kind of insane that we can't, like this is like a small A town in Georgia.
Yeah.
It's not like they were from Atlanta, you know, like it was like a very small town. Somehow they both ended up there. Like Charles Kelly and Dave were like friends.
Yeah.
And when they both ended up in Nashville, they like called each other like, oh, we both love music.
Right.
You know, and they had like done stuff together like growing up. Like, but that wasn't the case for Lauren and Kane. So it is kind of cool. But anyway, all right. So single of the year, I think it's going to be Body Like Back Road.
Okay.
So song of the year. So the same nominees, we've got Blue Ain't Your Color, Better Man, Body Like a Back Road, Dirt on My Boots, Tin Man. So
this would be Taylor Swift's first song of the year if she took it for Better Man. So
where this gets weird for me is that I'm like, are we honestly gonna put up like in 20 years, are we gonna look at Body Like a Back Road and Dirt on My Boots in any type of comparison to Better Man or Blue Ain't Your Color?
I don't think so.
I mean, because think about it this way. Always on My Mind, you know that song, right?
Right.
Like, how could that song compare to Body Like a Back Road, even in 20 years? Like, Always on My Mind is still going to be like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
People are still going to be dancing to that at their wedding.
Right.
If you went to a wedding and somebody was dancing to Body Like a Back Road, would you leave? I don't know.
It just seems very of the moment.
You would think about leaving.
Yeah. I mean, there are songs on this list that I think will live for a long time.
Yes.
And there are some that may be considered the song of the year because of what they did, but they may just be a song of the year, and then next year there'll be another one. Right.
So typically I think CMA gets this category right. And the way that it usually goes historically, especially in the last 10 or so years, is the song of the year at the NSAI Awards, which is the Nashville Songwriter Association International, which, yes, there is one extra word or letter in there, and I don't know which one it is. That song historically also becomes the CMA Song of the Year. The only two exceptions, which you're going to love this one. So in 2014, Miranda Lambert won the NSAI award for Automatic, did not win Song of the Year, did win Single of the Year. But so Casey Musgraves won, that was Follow Your Arrow. She won in 2014 for Song of the Year. But so in 2012, this is so interesting. And here's what I actually wrote. The two most recent breaks were 2014's NSAI win for Miranda Lambert and Automatic and 2012's NSAI win for Dolly Parton's I Will Always Love You, which I cannot explain. I have no idea why all of a sudden they were like, hey guys, don't forget you can vote for this song. Because the songwriters vote on those words. Anyway, this year, Blue Ain't Your Color took home NSAI Song of the Year. Hillary Lindsey, Clint Lagerberg, and Stephen Lee Olsen. Keith Urban sang it. The only other song I kind of see creeping in would be Better Man, because I think songwriters love when other songwriters are able to write a song by themselves.
Okay, and this is the only song with a songwriter, Taylor Swift.
Yes, which last year Lori McKenna won, and she was the solo songwriter on Humble and Kind. I could kind of see Tin Man like maybe creeping in some votes. That is a great song.
Yeah, I think that'll live for a long time.
Yes, it is. I look at that song and I'm like, why haven't people thought of that before? Which is really how I felt about Kelsey Ballerini's Peter Pan. I'm like, why hasn't somebody thought of this before? Mm-hmm. This is brilliant. But I think it's probably going to be Blue Ain't Your Color. The only thing that I think people love that Better Man was a solo, right? I think people might not want to give Taylor Swift an award. Personally, I'm whispering.
Sidebar.
Personally, I voted for Better Man.
Okay. I won't tell anybody.
Yeah, don't tell.
So far, you're saying this is really Keith's year.
Well,
seems
Keith,
like...
yeah, Keith didn't write it, but
with songs that he's performed, yeah.
Pardon my French, he performed the hell out of it. Like, he's so good at this song.
Yeah, it's great. And he's still got one more category. The only two left are Album of the Year and Entertainer of the Year. Yeah,
so Album of the Year, I think to a lot of fans, it's going to, like, CMA loves Miranda Lambert. When you look at the way music has gone, say in the last 5 to 10 years, people don't make albums anymore. People just try to make...
They do singles. Yeah.
And maybe they put them all on an album. That is not what The Weight of These Wings is on any level. It is an album. It is 24 songs.
Yeah.
24 songs. One solo, right? And like 2 or 3 covers. It's kind of insane. It is, to me, one of the most honest and vulnerable country music records that's probably ever come out. Like, just raw. And I mean, sure, it's a divorce record, but it's also so much more than that. Like, there are so many songs on there that can resonate with so many different people in so many different phases of life. Like, me personally, I've never been married or divorced, and this album still, like, truly, like, captured a lot of my feelings about, like, I mean, my favorite song on the album is Use My Heart, where she's like, I can call my mom, I don't go home. I can feed my dogs, they can't come inside. You know, it's like, I can do all of these things, but I'm not going to let you get close enough to me that I'm going to give you this.
Yeah.
Which is like a little too deep for this podcast, but it, like, every time I listen to that, I'm like, I should call my mom. But hell no, I'm not going home. I don't want to go home. You know, it's like, but it's like, how come nobody else has ever thought of that? Like the way that she says things. And, I mean, Tin Man is just so smart.
Yeah.
And then there's like all these other like brilliant songs just about being like, I am a 30-something-year-old woman and I want to go do this. So like, why is everybody mad at me?
Yeah.
And like, I love it. I think it's such a good album. So,
excuse me.
Unfortunately, I don't think The Breaker or Heartbreak, so Little Big Town's The Breaker or Lady A's Heartbreak, have a shot, which when The Breaker came out, like, I remember writing my review of it and I said, this is going to get nominated for Album of the Year. It's such a good album. I think Chris Stapleton's got thrown in here because he's Chris Stapleton, and if he has anything, he gets nominated for it.
Yeah, that's where he is right now.
Which is kind of annoying. Which I know, send me hate mail.
Yeah.
Like if you're listening and you feel strongly about what I just said,
hey, throw it in the comments on iTunes or on SoundCloud.
Please tell us because like I'm kind of over it already. But I mean, it's a great album. I'm just whatever. So I think what's interesting here is that like I am like really intrigued by the fact that somehow Jason Isbell got this nomination for the Nashville Sound. Now. And Drew, I know you have a lot of, like, you love this album.
I really like this album.
I love this album. It is so smart. It's current without ever saying Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, like gun control, healthcare. Like, it doesn't say any of those things, but you know what he's talking about.
Right. And,
And so it's...
But a lot of it is such a swipe at Nashville, and he's taken swipes at CMAs. Even the title, like the idea of the Nashville sound, that there's a certain type of country music that comes out. He's just saying, I mean, even in the title, he's criticizing the sound that's coming out of Nashville.
And I think that's a nod to, like, there's the Bakersfield sound, there's Chet Atkins, and the Nashville. Right. It's like a harken back to like the 50s and 60s when Nashville became Music City.
Right.
But so I addressed that, but I said it like this. The long shot in this category is Isbell's The Nashville Sound. You'll recall that in 2015, Chris Stapleton's Traveler was a little out of the box for mainstreamers. Isbell's biggest competition will likely come from past remarks he's made about country music in general and the CMA, which might not have sat very well with voters.
Saying things like, I don't like this kind of music.
Yes, so we know for a fact that he loves Chris Stapleton, Sturgill, Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, Alison Krauss, and Miranda Lambert. And John Prine. And he he's played a lot of shows with Casey Musgraves, and I think he likes Casey Musgraves. I've never seen that on his Twitter.
Yeah.
All those other people I've seen on his Twitter.
Yeah.
Also what I've seen on his Twitter is, I'm not playing CMA Fest because I don't want to do that.
Right.
I'm watching the CMA Awards because I feel nauseous and, you know, just like stuff like that, that it's like, to me, I think one of the great things about like what we get to do for a living is that like we can give like fair and honest opinions, but like you don't have to set the conversation back. Okay. Like you can move the needle.
Right.
To me, he's not moving the needle. He's just like kind of being a jerk.
And a lot of people wondered if he'd even show up. Which he's not. It's because he's in Europe. He has these shows booked in Germany and Belgium since February. Right. Which is long before he got the nomination. So it's not like he's just skipping out and doing something else.
Right. Which I didn't think he was going to come anyway. I don't think he would have.
He told Rolling Stone that if he were in town, he'd come just for the spectacle of it.
Which is rude.
Yes. Yeah. Not because he respects Chris Stapleton and Miranda Lambert or Keith Urban. It's just like, it would just be like this crazy thing I would get to see.
I think that there's a, if you look at a guy like Chris Stapleton or even, I mean, there are a lot of people out there that feel, and I'm doing the hashtag blessed / lucky, just super fortunate that like they can pay the bills and like get on stage like several nights a week and play like songs that they wrote to people. And sometimes I don't get that vibe from him. I know he's had like a crazy story and I think he's insanely talented, but like, why do you have to be a jerk? Like Maren Morris, like 2 months ago tweeted out, like this was after nominations had come out. She's a Grammy winner. Like she'd just gotten engaged and she said, the best news I've ever gotten to deliver to somebody is that I just got to tell my band I put them on salary and gave them health benefits. That's like only 4 or 5 guys, but there are not a ton of people in the world who do that with their bands.
Yeah. Oh, not at all.
Especially somebody that young and new to the game is not doing that. they will have a different drummer, guitar player because like somebody else got a better offer or, like they hadn't been paid and like whatever.
Or it's a temporary gig and they're playing with someone else when you want to do your shows and they just can't do it.
So-and-so's off tour, so they'll come play with you. And so like...
Oh, and musicians, like that's the dream for a musician, to not have to hunt for what your next tour is going to be or who you're going to hook up with next in the studio, to just be like, I'm going to be with Maren Morris as long as she's around. That gives you so much stability.
As long as she wants me and as long as I want to be here. Yeah, that's insane. And, it does create like a certain chemistry. And I don't know anything about Jason Isbell's band. I'm sure they've been together for a very long time. He obviously gave them credit on the album, the 400 unit. But like at some point, it's like, I love people that speak their mind. And I love that he is one person in Nashville who has true, real opinions about what's going on in the world. But like, do we need another person just being a jerk about country music?
No. People are jerks about country music without ever listening to it.
Yeah, and so I'm just like, I'm over that. So,
and I think you and I have talked about this before on a previous podcast. If he wants to change the conversation, he's going to have to enter into it with some goodwill.
Yeah.
He's going to have to show up and appreciate the other people who are there.
Yeah. So I think it'll be Miranda's Weight of These Wings. I would not be shocked because Isbell does kind of run in the Dave Cobb, Chris Stapleton, Laura McKenna, like that crowd, Casey Musgraves. But I don't think he runs it in enough to get votes.
Okay. And the last category, Entertainer of the Year. All of these guys' pictures, they look like they're about to beat me up. It looks like Luke Bryan's trying to seduce me. The only one who's smiling is Keith Urban, which is no surprise. Garth Brooks looks mad. Chris Stapleton looks like I just insulted his cowboy hat or something. And Eric Church looks like an undercover cop who just got found out.
I don't think there's anything funnier than like a publicity photo. Because, okay, if you've ever seen Garth in real life, even just on TV, he never scowls.
No, and those are all his publicity photos.
Yes.
He's just angry, like,
It's insane. And Luke is also a very smiley, fun, like
just goofy guy.
High energy guy. But all of his publicity photos are like sexy, which I understand what sells. But
I just shrug my shoulders.
I'm like, it's not like this super reflective of him. Chris Stapleton's been using that photo for 3 or 4 years now. So
he just looks upset.
He just looks like he's like, I'm in a field getting my photo taken. When will be done?
I am sure he does not enjoy doing PR photos.
Which is why he's been using this one for several years.
Probably.
Sometimes people just put it in black and white. This one's in
He
color.
still looks like that?
Yes.
Why get a new one?
So, Entertainer of the Year. Oh my gosh. This category this year is pretty stacked. How should we start this one?
Can you go against Garth?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not saying that he's a bad entertainer if you do, but he is such the consummate entertainer in this genre.
Yeah. So Garth is about to wrap up his 3-year comeback tour. He sold over 6 million tickets to 364 shows, played several surprise shows, a couple of like tribute performances. I think he promised a college tuition, a honeymoon, a car, like gave away a ton of guitars to fans, has his own weekly show on Facebook. He has his foundation that he does in whatever city he's in, where he goes and pairs up pro athletes with kids and teaches them sports, #sports. And
Seems like a good cause.
He's Garth, but I think it's Keith Urban's year.
I mean, this would be a big year for him.
Yes.
The way that you're just looking at it right now, I mean, he's going to get a lot of awards if it goes this way.
Yeah.
And so can you really...
Sometimes my heart is wrong.
If he wins all of these, male vocalist, if Blue Ain't Your Color wins a lot, could he really not get Entertainer of the Year? It's kind of that like landslide effect. Like, you've gotten all of these. Does that not add up to the big one.
Right, which is funny because Garth, this is his third year in a row to be nominated for Entertainer of the Year. No other categories, which is the same for Luke now. Luke used to always be thrown in the at least male vocalist category, and then actually Crash My Party was nominated for Album of the Year. LOL. But yeah, he doesn't have anything, like those two guys don't have anything else. Like, which to me is actually kind of awesome because it is just you're entertaining and you're doing all of these things for country music, and it really is about the fans and overall. But like, to me, it's Keith still wins even when you're doing that.
Yeah.
Like, because I think when it comes to the overall country music image, Keith is the guy who's taking performers that like aren't barely on the map, and he's giving them a place on their stage, and he'll like just go play guitar for them.
Oh yeah.
Like he brought Maren Morris on his Ripcord tour after he heard My Church on her EP before. Like, she did not have a record deal, and he called her and said, like, let's get, like, come on my tour.
It's that American Idol spirit in real life.
Come on my tour. And then they were both nominated for a Grammy. He was nominated for Blue Ain't Your Color performance. She was nominated for My Church. She won. She goes up there and like is giving her speech. Camera cuts to Keith, and he's like got tears in his eyes because he's so damn happy.
Of course he
for her.
does. Yeah.
Like, he's just, and like he's done like 5 or 6 like super random free surprise shows in Nashville. Like, hey, like, because he just wants to be on stage and like play music for people. And he's also kind of like the little big town guy. Like, somebody needs something, and like they're like, Keith will probably do it. You know? And so I just think that he just had a year that you can't ignore.
Okay.
So
that's kind of what it is. Who's had the year you can't ignore?
Yeah.
Garth's always going to be good. Luke Bryan's going to sell out his shows. Chris Stapleton's going to do some cool stuff. But yeah, for a unique year that you can't ignore, Keith Urban.
Yeah. So now we're gonna talk to Lisa Kanicki, who is on our team and also has some like super great country music insights, and we're just gonna get her thoughts on a couple of these big categories. Just off the cuff, single of the year. What are you thinking?
Single of the year?
Yeah.
I am thinking that's one of the toughest categories that we have, but I think it's a toss-up. I think you got three shots there. You got Blue Ain't Your Color by Keith Urban, Body Like a Back Road, Sam Hunt, and Better Man, Little Big Town. Now, Body Like a Back Road was a huge smash, 25 weeks, #1 on the country song. So that you would think would be the most logical choice, but that may go to Song of the Year, leaving Blue Ain't Your Color and Better Man to vie it out for Single of the Year. And I just think Better Man has had more visibility, and because Taylor Swift wrote it, I think they want to the CMA is going to want to bring Taylor Swift back into the game and go with that.
Really? Because I had those thoughts, but I was kind of thinking that's why Better Man could end up winning Song of the Year. So what do you think about Song of the Year?
Okay, you're right. I have it backwards. I was thinking Song of the Year is Better Man, and Single of the Year is Body Like a Back Road.
Okay, well, start over then.
Okay.
Okay, so Single of the Year, what are you thinking?
Single of the Year, I am thinking, obviously there's 3 tough choices, Better Man, Blue Ain't Your Color, and Body Like a Back Road, all big hits. But Body Like a Back Road, I think, takes this one because it was, #1 for 25 weeks, breaking records, more than 25 weeks, ousting Cruise, that was #1 for 24 weeks by Florida Georgia Line. And in 2013, when Florida Georgia Line and Cruise did hit that milestone, they won Single of the Year. So I'm thinking Body Like a Back Road gets Single of the Year this year.
Yeah, that's what I said too, because it might not stand the test of time like in 20 years, but it's going to stand the test of time for a few years. And this year, for sure. So,
right. And I think it's got such buzz around it, being at #1 for so long, that I think it's just in people's minds and it's going to get that award.
Absolutely. So what are you thinking for Song of the Year?
Well, again, same songs for Song of the Year. There's 5 nominees, but those 3 songs are, solid. And I think it's Body Like a Back Road, Blue Ain't Your Color, and Better Man, again, up against each other. They're going to vie for it. Like I said, Body Like a Back Road's getting Single of the Year, so it's going to be between Blue Ain't Your Color and Better Man. I think this one goes to Better Man just because the Taylor Swift connection, and I think the Academy, the CMA is going to want to bring Taylor Swift to the show, have her there, and flaunt her a little bit. So I think it goes to Better Man.
Yeah, and I think too that songwriters who are voting really like that she wrote it by herself.
Yes, and that it was a country song. Obviously she's not country anymore, she's pop, but, it keeps her foot in the pond. And her making an appearance at the show, if she wins, I think is going to get her some good praise. Especially,
2 days before her album comes out. I feel that.
Right.
So,
that's a good point.
All right, Album of the Year.
Album of the Year. I'm thinking, there's not a big standout one there, I don't think. There's not one that you're just like, that's got to win, that's the best. I'm thinking it's a toss-up between The Breaker by Little Big Town and From a Room, Volume 1 with Chris Stapleton. Only because I think the CMA loves to give, an outsider an award, so that's why they might go towards Chris Stapleton. But Breaker has been most visible, and so I think that's a possibility. I think it probably goes to Stapleton this year.
Okay, interesting. So you don't think Miranda Lambert has a shot?
I don't. As great as I thought that album was, and it's a double album, and those just aren't done that much anymore, and I don't think the industry saw it as this great project and isn't apt to go her way. I think they're going to go a different way this year.
Oh, this is so interesting. Okay, all right. So I can't wait to hear your thoughts on Entertainer of the Year.
Entertainer of the Year for me comes down to 2 people. Obviously, Garth, Luke, Eric, Chris Stapleton, and Keith are nominated, but I think it's going to come down to being between Garth Brooks and Keith Urban.
Okay.
I love Keith Urban. I think Keith Urban has been underrated with all these award shows, and I think it should go to him because he is, all around. He's a great entertainer. He's everywhere. He's doing #1 hits, throwing them out there. And Garth Brooks is coming off a 3-year tour. He is definitely an entertainer when out on the road, but I think Keith this year has is a little more visible, a little more out there representing country music, and I think since Garth won it last year for his comeback, it's not going to be as exciting to give it to him again. I think it goes to Keith Urban, hopefully.
Oh my gosh, that is where my heart is. I just think that he's just so, I actually wrote this. I said that Urban's the most gracious entertainer on the planet. He loves putting other people in the spotlight.
Yes.
But I think that just one of the most gracious human beings I've ever spoken to is Garth Brooks.
Yes, as a matter of fact, I just talked to him yesterday, and it was one of the most pleasant conversations I've had in a long time. I love talking to him. He is a great guy, but I just think the visibility and Keith Urban, having a lot of #1 hits off Ripcord, the massive Ripcord tour was a success. I think he's due. I think he's long overdue.
Yeah, he hasn't won since 2005, but when he did win in 2005, he also won Male Vocalist, which he's also nominated for this year. So
maybe it's a repeat.
Could be his year. We'll have to see. Okay. Well, so we weren't going to do this, but in your heart, female vocalist.
In my heart, I think female vocalist goes to Carrie Underwood.
Oh, our hearts are in sync, Lisa.
Oh, look at that. Why do you say Carrie Underwood?
I think that, other than just knowing that she's switched record labels and, she's got a whole different crew voting for her. I think that people forget that half of this voting period, she was on tour, she had #1 hits, Storyteller was insane, she sold out arenas, she was on Keith's song, and she's also she's doing the Opry thing. She's around a lot more. She's done so much. I feel for Nashville with the Predators and all of that, and there's just that spirit there with her that I feel like you're not getting with the other big nominee.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
And I just think that she's been overlooked. I mean, granted, Miranda Lambert is fantastic, and she deserves winning Female Vocalist of the Year. But I think there were some years that Carrie should have, of the 7 years Miranda won, I think Carrie should have gotten some in there, and I think it's her turn this time.
Oh, amen. All right. I guess we'll have to see, right? And we might talk to you after the show, and we'll reconvene and we'll get our thoughts on that. But
cool. We'll get to see how many we got wrong.
I mean, I'm usually not that far off. My problem is my personal feelings get in the way too often.
Yes. So to look at it objectively is hard to think what the industry's going to pick when we're so dedicated and devoted to these certain people that we think should win. There's a difference between who will win and who should win. Yeah,
which is funny because like I love Garth Brooks, and like for some reason I'm like I don't care about the fact that I literally listened to the Double Live album on my way home from work yesterday. I didn't listen to Keith Urban on my way home from work yesterday, but like I think this is Keith's year. So
I do too. I think Garth won it last year, and Garth's got all those hits, so we're going to keep listening to him, and he's a fantastic entertainer. But again, he won it last year. I think it's time for Keith to get it.
Okay. All right. We love that. That is Lisa Kanicki with her insights, and you can find all of her stuff on onecountry.com, right, Lisa?
You got it. I'll be there.
All right. Thanks
Lisa.
Thank you.
Okay. So I love that. I feel like she had much different insights than I did.
I thought that was great.
And now I'm rethinking a couple of things.
You were so high on Weight of These Wings, and she was just like,
she didn't even mention it.
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, so there we go. It's CMA Awards are on November 8th, next Wednesday, 8/7 Central. That for most of you listening, it's probably 7 Central on ABC. We got Carrie Underwood, Brad Paisley hosting. For me, the big questions are, will Carrie Underwood debut a new song? Will Taylor Swift show up since she is nominated? Those are my two biggest questions. It's kind of a down year, I think, for some of these songs. But I think because of everything that's happened in the past few months with country music, I think that this show is going to turn out to be much different than we thought.
I think it's going to be a really meaningful show.
And so
very sincere.
I'm excited to see the community come together and show up for this and just see what happens. But I think it's Keith's year, so we'll see.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Catch us next time on the One Country Podcast. You can find us on SoundCloud or iTunes, wherever. And find all of our stuff at onecountry.com. See you later.
Bye.